The process of composition for me is something which shifts and changes with each piece. I spend a long time at the beginning of the process looking at other art forms and sketching ideas at the piano. Usually harmonic to begin with, but rhythmic and melodic ideas are often important at that stage. For me, every piece is like a new adventure, and it's daunting and exciting at the same time.
No matter which way I'm writing music, no matter which way I'm performing, it's all coming from the same place. I like to start off with a very strong core idea that I can develop. So it could be a groove, it could be some kind of drum beat, it could be maybe even just an interval, and that could spark off everything, as long as there's this strong core idea that I can develop and will be the personality and the soul of that piece of music.
I tend to see music quite visually, I think. I tend to see things in sort of shapes and colours, and I often like to have a visual piece of artwork or a narrative that inspires me. I also love to improvise at my piano and just sit there for hours and see what comes out and follow those ideas through.
I think I'm quite aware of what it feels like to be a player. So as I'm writing, I'm not just thinking what the music sounds like, but what it feels like to play, because I know the experience of playing something and just listening to it are very different things. So I want for the players to enjoy playing the music as well as for the audience to enjoy listening to it.
It's an illusion.
I love working with musicians because they're at the top of their game and they know their craft inside out, and bouncing ideas off them is invaluable. They can tell you if an idea is great or if it's going to work, and something new and wonderful might come out of it.
The horn seemed an obvious choice to me, given that both my parents played the horn. I feel like it was inevitable, except that my brother has ended up playing the cello, so it wasn't that inevitable. But I'm very happy with it.
I came from a musical family and they were very keen for me to learn an instrument. I actually wanted to learn tap dancing, but the next thing I knew, I was presented with a violin and having group classes. I was obviously showing an aptitude because the next thing I knew, I was having private lessons, and it just took off from there, really.
I was very lucky to be offered a place on the LSO's String Experience scheme, which offers the experience for young people at music college age to come in and play a few projects with the orchestra. For me, that sort of cemented the idea that I wanted to be in the LSO, and definitely that this is what I wanted to do for a living.
I'm doing the next generation at the moment. We get to create our own piece based on another one, so we get to learn like the history of the piece, like the composer, and we get to mix our own stuff into it. I really like how you can take like really weird ideas and put it into like a completely old piece, and you can just like mix in, it goes really nice.
I knew that I wanted to work in music, and I was a pianist, but knew I didn't want to be a performer. And I assumed that I would work in education and was very committed to music education. But then I discovered that the professional arts organisations, opera companies, orchestras were moving into this area of music education, and I was fortunate to get in at the early stages.
My interest in music started very young, but that moment that I wanted to be a conductor was during the first orchestra concert that I went to. And it was, one of these schools concerts. The conductor I remember at the time was actually a woman. So to me, it was also very natural. And I told myself already after that concert, I was like, I want to be in her place. I want to be like that.
I'm not an especially superstitious person, but I do have a rigid 23-minute warm-up that I do. And it will often be done in a stairwell somewhere because they're the sort of quiet places you can get away from people. Colleagues of mine definitely joke that I have stairwells in halls around the world, which is probably true because they have lovely acoustics and there's always somewhere to sit.
I don't really have a pre-performance ritual as such, but I do have some lucky horses that I usually carry in my handbag.
I like to have a new item of clothing, even if it's a pair of socks.
You can only have the confidence to go on the podium to work with all these wonderful musicians only if you are prepared and only when you're full of music. Because there's also, time is so precious and you really need to know what you're doing. So I read a lot about the pieces and I just really think about the piece a lot before going on the podium.
It's a real joy to hear your music performed for the first time, but it's also a real mixture of emotions. The difficulty is weighing up that anxiety about what other people will think, what the audience might think, what the conductor and the players think, with how I feel about the piece itself.
I'd say that when I'm on stage performing, that's the time that I'm at my most comfortable. I can suffer from a lot of anxiety in everyday life, but when I get on stage, that's when I'm calm. That's when I'm truly myself.
I think the funniest thing that happened to me in a concert was on tour in Bonn. I was wearing very large earrings in the concert and one fell off, made quite a clang, and my desk partner turned to me and said, Beethoven lost his earring in Bonn as well.
My first performance, solo performance, at the Royal Albert Hall in one of their new spaces. And I started the gig, I played a few notes, and then my nose started dripping. And I thought, oh, maybe I can kind of sniff it back. But it was totally running. And I had to stop. And say, excuse me, has anyone got a tissue? And then continue the gig from the beginning.
Nothing funny has ever happened in my concerts because jazz is very serious.
I'd definitely say, looking back over the career I've had since I was about 20, that it doesn't really matter, if things have gone wrong, things have happened on stage, because music is to be enjoyed, and at the end of the day, you're giving enjoyment to lots of people. So I'd definitely tell my younger self not to worry about the small stuff.
Advice that I would give to my younger self would be to keep going. There's been times when it's been very hard and I've been very poor and kind of questioning whether things are going to get better. I never really had any doubts as a child that I would be an artist of some sort. I didn't always know in what capacity, but I think I would just reassure my younger self that it'll all come together eventually.
I would say to my younger self, life is a marathon, not a sprint.
Quite simply, go for it, girl. Never give up, keep on trying, and you'll get there in the end.
I would say embrace every experience, appreciate the small things. Tell people that you appreciate what they're doing and have done. Enjoy yourself. Ride the wave. It's a roller coaster and it's probably like one of the best jobs in the world. So just love every moment.